Hello, Vandana. It's a pleasure to
Hello.
be here with you. Thank you very much for your time. And well, I will tell the audience that we are here presenting the new book of Vandana Shiva, Oneness versus the 1%. In Spanish is Unidad versus el 1%. It's a beautiful title and a brief, a consistent and very consistent book that puts in focus what's in the center of today's problem, that it's our economic system, for whom we all seem to work or even exist. And a system where just a few, this 1%, are getting something. And well, Vandana put names in order for us to focus on who the problem is. And she names Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Warren Buffett. And I would like Vandana to start here. In which way billionaires make their money, because that's very specific on your book, and how this way of making money and the way they expend it are destroying the world.
The present day billionaires, who are today's robber barons, make their money from big data as the new oils, just like the old robber barons, like Rockefeller, controlling Standard Oil, also controlled the financial system, controlled the chemical industry, worked with IG Farben in Germany, worked in Auschwitz, where the people were killed. Today's robber barons use the new technologies, and they have grown using the deregulated rules of so-called free trade. These rules are free for them, but unfree for ordinary citizens. These were the rules that began with the World Trade Organization, and that is why I have been a big part of the anti-globalization movement, a founder of the International Forum on Globalization, and I have come to many Latin American countries as part of that movement. I never could visit Bolivia, but I worked with the entire initiative on the rights of Mother Earth. I have worked with the Chileans, and the founder and supporter of IFG had become, in effect, a Chilean citizen, Doug, and he settled there and protected all the natural parks. Argentina have come again and again and again to deal with the catastrophe of the Roundup Ready soybean. So how did Monsanto get so rich? By taking patents on seed. How do the Gates become so rich? By taking patents on software. And so if you see the two things in parallel, Microsoft and Monsanto, and you see one taking genes that don't belong to them, taking seeds that don't belong to them, doing a little modification and selling it back with the chemical they own, the Roundup, the devastation of Argentina is there for anyone to see. The way Monsanto made money is the way Microsoft made money. First, by taking patents on software that Bill Gates had never made. I don't know why they call him an inventor or a genius. He stole a public code from two college professors who had made it. The basic program was made by two mathematical professors. And even the Office program was made by someone else. And he pestered him and then bought it for $50,000 or something. And then linking the two, patenting it, and then creating intellectual property rights and creating intellectual property police. They used to break into college and university dorms to see if your Microsoft and Word program had been paid for directly or copied from a friend. Exactly what Monsanto does with seeds. Did you buy the seeds from Monsanto and pay them a royalty? Or did you just take it from a neighbor? So the first way these giants have made money is through patenting. The second way they've made money is by treating our data as their raw material. Just like our seeds became raw material for Monsanto, our data, our brain activity, our exchanges with friends on Facebook become raw material for the new capital, which a brilliant professor at Harvard has called surveillance capital. So they take our data, they mine our data, put it through algorithms into messaging they want to give us, and then modify our behavior just like Monsanto modifies seeds. So genetic modification is equal to digital modification of human beings today through the social media. It's exactly the same. We are being modified right now. And in the process, the billionaires are making money. And I really do believe that the solutions, the false solutions to the COVID crisis are also part of their making money. 3.7 trillion was lost by working people during the lockdown of COVID in this 1 year, 3.7. The billionaires made 3.9 trillion additional. It's a transfer of wealth. And the other aspect in which they make their money is forcing you to become dependent. Just like Monsanto made people dependent on Roundup and GMO seeds. We don't have to become dependent on this kind of communication. We don't have to become dependent on renewing our programs every year. Gmail has just shut everything down for Google One. Gates wants to shut agriculture down for a Gates Ag One, which he's trying to implement already in Argentina. And he has this dream for the world. They call it digital agriculture, as if data moving through machines can grow life. It cannot. So there's an ontological crisis, which is why I call this book Shattering Illusions, because they're living on manufacturing illusions.
And it's very interesting on this same sense where you talk about this like this 1%, not as a calamity, but a system, like an organized system that in which big corporations are working as a weapon for colonialism. Can you please explain more of this concept? Because I find it like really original.
Yeah. So when I say this is a system, it is partly to show that while there are individuals who are in the driver's seat, particularly people like Gates, who have been put in the driver's seat with this brilliant clothing of philanthropy, yeah? Oh, he gives, and he gives, and he gives, while all he's doing is emptying your pocket through software payments, emptying your pocket through, now he's the one patenting seeds through digital genome sequencing, and right now he controls all the seeds of the world, emptying your pocket through his links with Big Pharma. You know, as he has acknowledged, his investments in Big Pharma have been the most profitable, and his investments in vaccines have shown him huge profits. For 10 billion he invested, he's already made 200 billion. Already. In 3 months, Pfizer made 3.5 billion, and they expect to make 26 billion. So how is this new colonialism? Well, our dear Columbus, who was trying to come to India, was not an individual. He was a part of the system of that time. The system of that time was the church, the kings and queens, and then, of course, at that time, Europe was in deep crisis. They were having huge domestic problems. They were trying to grab the land of the peasants, and in England, they had the enclosures of the commons. Across Europe, they had witch hunts. 9 million people were killed. That's the turmoil with which they said, let's solve our problems. Give Columbus a letter patent. It was called a letter patent. And give him the power to colonize the lands he comes across. They thought they'd come to India and colonize us. We'd have been Spanish speaking if there hadn't been America in between. But then they said he discovered Columbus. A little later, the British found they were getting left behind, so they did exactly the same thing. 300 merchant adventurers got together, wrote an agreement, got Queen Elizabeth to sign it the end of December 1600. And that's how we were colonized. What does colonization do? A bunch of individuals assign themselves power over the lives, the lands, the cultures, and the wealth of other people. That's colonialism. They carve out colonies and territories, and they decide without ever consulting, without ever taking permission as guests and saying, can I land here, please? Yeah? Will you give me a bit of your gold and silver at a fair price? Or to India, will you give us a little bit of your indigo? No, they create slavery. Indigo was cultivated at British times under slavery. Before that, it used to be exchanged for a bag of gold. Pepper used to be exchanged for a bag of gold. That's why India was so rich. We were 25% of the world economy. And that's why they all wanted to come. So here's a bunch of people. Christianity is the civilizing mission in that colonialism. And it is what justifies the system. That, oh, if you're killing you, the indigenous people who we are wiping out, we're doing it for your good. We are liberating you from your barbarian culture. We are liberating you from your primitiveness. We are delivering you to civilization. So when I was writing this book, I was realizing that the narrative that the billionaires are creating, technology, invention, innovation, we are smart, you're stupid, when all they were doing was creating new colonies. Now the new colonies were our seeds. Monsanto started it, but Gates is carrying on. He has a big hand in piracy of seeds, including our salt-tolerant, flood-tolerant rices, which he claims to have invented. He is a big biopirate of data. I have just launched a campaign on World Biodiversity Day because Bill Gates is trying to steal all of our wonderful cuisine. For any one of you who've eaten Indian food, you will recognize that with all our spices and all our diversity of food, we make good food. And our food is different in every part of India. We have hundreds and hundreds of food cultures. He is taking all this data through our government. And then at the bottom of it says, after data capture, we will create messaging, and then we will modify behavior. My gosh, if my dal roti is good, if the South Indian rasam and sambar is good, why do we need messaging and behavior modification? What would the behavior modification be? Oh, stop your milk. Milk is dangerous for you. Eat plant-based substitute with Gates patents. Women's bodies are the new colony in his world. I haven't written it in the book, but I've written it in the new report, Gates to a Global Empire, where he has actually financed and patented lab-made breast milk as a climate solution. Yeah? A woman feeding her baby through her body, producing the best immunity and diet for the baby, the same baby who came from her body. No, that is causing climate change. But lab-made fake milk is a solution to climate change. Biomilk is the name of this. So everything is being turned into a colony. Our minds are being turned into a colony. Our bodies are being turned into a colony. Our food is being turned into a colony. And where does he want to take it on? When I wrote the book, I had watched him stand on the stage at Paris with the heads of state. And I said the United Nations used to be one country, one vote, and heads of states representing the country. Since when did an unelected billionaire stand with them? And since when did he start giving recipes? Or what's the solution? The recipes he was giving there was geoengineering, change the climate of the world through polluting the atmosphere, putting chemicals in the air, creating clouds artificially, putting putting iron filings in the ocean. And more genetic engineering, more new genetic engineering through gene editing, new gene drives to put species to extinction. This is what he was in his platter. All this means not only are all plants and all life forms his new colony, the human body is, and the human mind is. And, you know, I'm now writing a new book And during the pandemic, Microsoft took a new patent. Its patent is WO, World Patent 060606, March of last year. Users, human beings become users. The centerpiece is the machine. The algorithms in the machine mine the data of the user, the brain activity and the body activity of the user, and then through the algorithm evaluate a value to us through cryptocurrencies. And you might have heard, the World Economic Forum, which was already with the new Great Reset, has said, and you will own nothing. You will rent everything. You will be happy. Well, everyone's renting their software. Farmers are renting their seeds and paying rents. Our minds will be rented from the software giants. Our friends will only be friends if they give us permission, or they can block our communication. And right now there's a war going on in India because the software giants were totally at the service of government as long as people were being oppressed. And then something happened and a few tweets showed that they were fake messages. And now there's suddenly the issue of data privacy. But this is more than data privacy. It is about the integrity of life, the integrity of every life form, of every seed, every plant, and the integrity of every human being. This is the debate of our times. And that's why I'm glad my book is with you all in Latin America, because over my last 20, 30 years of looking at globalization and looking at the rise of the billionaires through deregulated commerce, called free trade, I've realized that the creative thinking is in Latin America. It's out of Latin America. Evo Morales gets together when they killed the UN summit in Copenhagen. And he said, we were here to defend the rights of Mother Earth, not the rights of polluters. And I'll write with the citizens of the world a declaration on rights to Mother Earth. And we joined hands. And that's how the Declaration on Rights of Mother Earth came out. Or Ecuador, which did the same in its constitution. And right now in Argentina, the patenting challenge from Monsanto has been defeated. In Mexico, the threats by Monsanto to stop, to not ban GMOs, not ban glyphosate, it's been defeated again. So there is a new thinking, a fresh thinking, a decolonized thinking in Latin America. And I hope this little book will help your movements.
An optimistic way of seeing our reality right now. We are in Argentina introducing to the world this wheat, modified wheat, transgenic wheat. I don't know if you've been following this case. We are on a big campaign against it, and it's very like a huge problem for, well, Argentina. It's a big consumer of wheat. We are all eating it in a lot of forms, and the way they are launching this new invention, it's like really really obscure.
No, I know about the wheat, and I know it's in Brazil. They want to do the first try, and I actually supported the movements.
Yeah, I know you do. And I know you have to be some kind of optimistic. I don't know if every week is is possible to follow that, but.
Yeah, when I refer to countries, I'm not saying everything. I am saying there's a new germination taking place.
Yeah, it is.
I am not saying the system has escaped the new colonialism. It is being used. And in all the governments, there are corrupt people. And sadly, the other part of my book is about how when billionaires through deregulation become richer and richer and richer and become the 1%, then they make so much money that they create their own financial world, which is how a lot of the data in the book shows how the BlackRocks and the Vanguards now own the corporations. The corporations are not owned by the shareholders, but by these asset investment banks, which are private banks owned by the billionaires whose money they're holding. And when that kind of money is available, it is very easy to buy politicians. It is very easy to buy elections. It is extremely easy to hijack democracy. And that's the last chapter in my book, which is why we have to reclaim democracy in a new way. And I talk about it as Earth democracy, because in this period of pandemics and destruction of forests and destruction of our farms and destruction of our foods, and talking about foods, not only is Gates trying to steal our data on food, he is so busy creating fake food. I'm just helping. Our dairy is the biggest dairy in the world, but it's one woman with one cow who takes that milk, and then this milk is collected together. And usually the woman is landless and Dalit, the people who don't have land, because at least a cow can support them. They take care of the cow takes care of them. This is the economy of care. And they don't treat their cows like factory farms in America do. They're not cruel to their cows. For us, the cow is our mother. Yeah, Gau Mata, we say, the sacred cow. Gates has put so much money in fake meat, the Impossible Burger, 14 patents, fake milk. And his billions and billions are being put out, so no one will have real food. And his slogan is farming without farmers and farm-free food. So why do they need so much genetic engineering, including wheat? Because when you take food, which can be eaten straight, you can bake a bread from good wheat. I can make a chapati from good wheat, and our old wheats don't give gluten allergies. But when wheat or soya or corn becomes feedstock for labs growing industrial food and fake food, then you need these rows of a monoculture. You need genetic engineering to make them terror-tolerant to more chemicals. And this is the reason GMOs, chemicals, monocultures, and large farms go together. And Gates has just bought the largest land holdings in America. And I'll be briefing our farmers and our movements tomorrow about how he has also got into Indian land records. Why would Microsoft want to get access to Indian land records? Because through his Gates Ag 1, which is farming without farmers, they want more monocultures, bigger land holdings, more chemical use, but a little reduction through satellite monitoring of your soil. The pollution in the north continues. Our soils become carbon sinks for offsetting of zero carbon in the new fake accounting that Bill Gates has put out in his rubbish book called How to Avoid Climate Disaster. Net zero. He's saying net zero doesn't mean zero. It doesn't mean we reduce pollution. It doesn't mean we get rid of emissions. It means we maintain, but we make others balance out our pollution, which means our farms will not be in autonomous farms. Our farms will not be growing healthy food to be eaten by people. Our farms will not be creating nourishing soils. In Navdanya, the movement I started, our soils are so rich in carbon, in nitrogen, in zinc, and magnesium, and potassium, and phosphate. Because when you give food to the soil, then the microbes can create everything we need, that our body needs, that the soil needs, that the plant needs. The soil is not just a carbon sink. It is, of course, a big living carbon. That's not a sink, it's life. The leaf is a living carbon molecule. Food is living carbon, our bodies are living carbon. To equate dead carbon, fossilized carbon with this living carbon is an ontological fraud. But to then say your land will belong mine, and he's creating new certification systems so that he, with the financial world, the BlackRocks, will monitor you to see how much carbon you put in the soil. And if you don't fit into their system, you will either be disenfranchised or in any case, you know, they worked out a very complex system where you will borrow from them for your seeds and your inputs. You'll have a credit, and then you'll have the carbon credit, but maybe the carbon credit is here and your chemical credit is there and the GMO outstanding credit is there. And this gap, the land will slip into their hands. So what the digital barons are talking about, they say dematerialization of the world. No, they are after Terra Madre. They are after our seeds and our biodiversity. They are after our food. They are after our land. If Columbus grabbed the land, East India Company overnight with one signature declared India's land to be their land and collected rents from our peasants, which is why between 40 to 60 million peasants died of hunger and starvation. They were growing fruit, but it was all going as rent collection. So we have a rent collection machinery whose cutting edge is digital technology, but it's married to GMO technology, it's married to chemical technology, and it is married to the financial system of the world. This is why each of us should be active today to defend our food, to defend our democracy, to defend our autonomy, to defend our freedom.
And let's talk about the oneness. One of the words that you mentioned is freedom. You mention it a lot. I think it's one of the most repeated words in your book. And I would like you to tell us in which way we can recover freedom, because it's very apocalyptic, the scenario, the world scenario. It's like we are trapped on this system that you, well, just explained very, very good and very deep. And so how can we recover freedom in order to get to this oneness and we can, you know, hug in a new movement of freedom?
Yeah. So what I've laid out is actually the dystopian vision. It's present in bits and pieces, 23,000 acres being taken by Gates, but that's not all the land. Yeah. For crops, corn, canola, soya, cotton, genetically modified, we saved the rest from genetic modification, and I hope Argentina will not go ahead with the GMO wheat. So right now it's very tiny, you know, it's a very small part of our lives. It's just that they want it all. They want it all and they want it integrated. So what's the relationship between oneness and freedom? Colonialism gave us separation. They didn't just separate the original custodians of land from their land. Yeah, that's exactly what colonialism was. They uprooted the indigenous people. But they also separated the land itself. They separated nature through mechanistic reductionism, about which I've written in the book. And I've written about how it's my training in quantum theory that taught me non-separation as the reality of the world. Separation is the artificial illusion. Non-separation and oneness is the reality. Because we were made to think in fragmented ways, we are made to believe we are individual atoms. And freedom is individualistic, atomized. So either we feel, oh my gosh, I'm alone and I can't take on this empire in the making, or I am powerless. But oneness is a basic recognition that reality is about interconnectedness and non-separation. Quantum theory teaches us that. Ecology teaches us that. The new sciences teach us that. Ayurveda, our old science of life, Ayur means life and Veda means science, has always said our health depends on our gut. And very sophisticated theories through potential. You know, just like in quantum theory, we have potential. In Ayurveda, you have potential. Similar thing, that there isn't a thing with fixed properties, but there's potential unfolding, and how it unfolds depends on the context. So for our body, the potential of health is created by our gut. And what goes into the gut is created by how we farm. When you spray Roundup and eat GMO soya, you are going to get a damaged gut. You're going to get cancer. You're going to get infertility. You're going to get dementia and Alzheimer's and autism. You're going to get an unstable metabolic system. You're going to get diabetes and obesity. All of these new chronic diseases are related to the damage to the gut. Now, the gut is a microbiome. 100 trillion organisms. Just imagine, 100 trillion organisms. We are 7-something billion people on the planet. Divide even 10 billion. Take 100 trillion and divide it by 10 and see how many more microbes are in one person's gut. These are 90% of us. So the idea of us being isolated individuals is just not true. We are interbeings. As I've written in the book, we are interbeings. The earth and our different organisms and our different species are interconnected with us, and we are interconnected with the earth. So how do we get freedom? By realizing our oneness and unity. Because out of that, we get power. We realize we are not alone. We are not one individual against rich billionaires. We are 100 trillion microbes in the gut, millions and billions of species in the soil, more than 7 billion, 99%. That's the majority. Now, the majority working together, recognizing our creative force, is where the change comes. What I have learned, my movement to save seeds began as a resistance to Monsanto. I just did not want them to own and patent seeds and force GMOs on us. And so I said, I'm going to save seeds, and I'll work with my government to write laws that seeds are not patentable. But in the process of more than 34 years of saving seeds, I've learned so much from seeds and plants and relationships and oneness. The first thing, you don't have to do anything to the seed except take care of her. You just have to take care of the seed. When you harvest, you just have to keep her safely till the next sowing. And the seed is so generous, One mustard will give you 1,000 mustard seeds. Millets are called millets, which are my favorite foods. I call them forgotten foods that will be future foods. They produce so much more nutrition with nothing, with hardly any rain, with 250 millimeters of water. They are so generous. The reason this group of crops is called millets is because one seed gives rise to 1 million seeds. Tiny, tiny little seeds, but rich in nutrition. That's how generous the seed is. All you have to do is take a bit of that. Eat some, share some, save some. And then the next season, you give the seed back to the soil in gratitude. And you give to the soil part of the organic matter that the plants gave you. That's all you need to do. The rest is done by the seed and the soil. That's why I'm so happy Fukuoka's book, The One Straw Revolution, is also being published in Latin America. And Fukuoka has been to our Earth University before he later, of course, passed away. People thought he had already gone when we called him. And because he was so old, we created a hut which was accessible by wheelchairs. And that hut on the Earth University. And people can visit the Earth University website on Navdanya, the page on Navdanya, on the courses. But this hut is called the Fukuoka hut on the Navdanya farm. And on this farm, we realized all we have to do is give love and care. And the power of the earth, the power of biodiversity, the power of nature is so strong. So our real strength comes from co-creation through love. Our real strength of not being afraid comes from saying, we will not let you touch Mother Earth. We will not let you touch our food. We will not let you touch our seeds, because out of deep love comes deep protection. This is the reason I was always against the globalization of language of protectionism. I said, but we have a duty to protect. I, as a mother, have a duty to protect my child. And we had said in Seattle, when we stopped the World Trade Organization, we had said our world is not for sale. In a way, in 2021, with the pandemic, with the tech billionaires trying to steal everything from us, while everyone is panicking about this little virus, we have to say our world is not for sale. We will not be afraid, because we are so many in unity. Our oneness is the strength of life, and life will not be locked down by you.
Thank you so much, Vandana. Well, this is Vandana's book in Argentina. I invite you all to read it. Unidad versus el 1% es un libro hermoso. Thank you very much, Vandana. You're always very generous with your time and so clear with your concepts. It's a pleasure to listen to you and to talk to you all the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sole, and my love to all the people of Latin America. My fond love and strength and resilience.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.